if I can remember how to do this. Hello and welcome to the Moon Underwater. I'm Kelly Daniels.
And I'm Steve Jones. Do you notice anything different about me today?
You have some sort of a medal. You're wearing your bling. What happened?
It's a participation medal
Okay.
from a marathon.
But you ran it
I ran a marathon.
The whole marathon,
The
right?
whole fucking thing.
So wasn't it a half marathon, but you just did it twice or something? Or
No,
what's the deal?
it was the real full. It was training marathon. Oh, my God.
I know. There's our train.
Wow.
Train.
I don't know how. Does that really come through in the audio?
I don't know. Maybe I'll listen one of these days.
Anyway, I thought it'd be funny to bring this.
I like it. Not funny at all. It's.
I'm going to wear it around from now on.
You should always wear it.
People go, what is it? A participation medal from a marathon?
Yeah. What place did you come in?
Middle place.
Yeah.
In the middle of the middle-aged.
That's
people.
good. That's if you're a wildebeest, you probably survive.
I
You know?
I got to take this thing off now, though, because it's.
Oh,
I know it's a participation medal,
it's
but
heavy.
it is heavy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, hold on one second.
All right. What's it made out of? It looks like it's like lead or something.
Yeah, whatever. The
Yeah.
finest cheap material possible.
Yeah, it's heavy though.
Yep.
Quad City Marathon.
I cannot wait to do another one, which I will be doing in Chicago.
Nice.
And I'm eyeballing one in April.
Wow.
Nashville Marathon.
Good for you. Good
That's
for
fun.
you. That's
It's a
your
good time.
That's your thing now.
I guess. I mean, everybody said you're going to feel either really, you're going to think to yourself, I'll never do this again. And while I was running it, I'm like, I have to do this again. I've raised $1,200 from people that, for a charity for me to go run this race in Chicago, and I have to do it.
Yeah, but you have to do that every single race?
No.
Okay.
No, Chicago, you can either get like a lottery spot, or you can qualify, or you can raise money.
Yeah.
And so I chose to raise money.
That's nice of you.
Oh, yeah.
Nice of your friends. Nice of you not asking me to give money.
I feel like this child here there's a child that's eyeballing us from outside.
Yes.
It gives us a start to what we're going to talk about
Yeah,
today.
so we are going to go kind of like old school, mainstream, and by your sort of request, a couple of Ernest Hemingway stories.
Yeah.
And so you're a Hemingway guy in terms of some of the novels, right?
My favorite
Sun
novel
Also Rises,
is
right?
Sun Also Rises.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah.
And you had said that you hadn't read any of his stories, so I just picked
Nope.
two that I thought I just remembered were good, and I like them. And they're very different. One's very short.
It's very Hemingway verbiage used. They were good, and I liked them.
Yes, and that is how he writes.
It is.
And I haven't had any beer yet. I probably should.
Help
Here.
yourself, yes.
Cheers.
Yeah. One of these.
So the first one is called A Day's Wait, and it's about a 9-year-old kid
Yeah. This kid
named
was not
Shots.
nine.
Shots.
Yeah.
And the other one is a married couple on safari, and it's
Yeah.
quite a long story.
It's
And,
the short, happy life of Francis Macomber.
Macomber, yeah.
Macomber. So you say Macomber?
That is how I say it, and I think I may have heard other people pronounce it that way.
It was pronounced that way on the audiobook, read by Stacy Keach.
Macomber.
Macomber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which I did not.
Who is Stacy Keach?
Oh, he's like famous voiceover guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
On the next American Greed.
Oh, nice.
That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like that would be a good voice.
Yeah.
So here's what were you? Did his stories live up to your hype, or do you like them?
A Day's
or what'd you
Wait.
think?
Let's start with that one.
All right.
I
Let's
loved
start.
how it started.
Yeah.
It's sort of a wooden interaction with like a father and a son, right?
Yeah.
Like there's not much detail given on it. It doesn't seem real.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's a wooden reaction so much as just the writing is so spare.
Right.
That there's no detail or no emotion.
Nothing.
It's just
We're getting you to where we're starting the
this
story.
happened.
Right.
And the kid just comes down, totally normal, but he doesn't look so good.
Right.
And he's got his face is pale. He's kind of walking slowly, like he's in pain.
Yeah.
And the dad feels his his forehead and said he obviously has a fever. And so they bring a doc over, and the doctor takes his temperature, and it's 102.
Yep.
And he goes, you should stay home, and here's some meds, and, like aspirin and 3 different kinds of meds. And he goes, this is a pretty mild influenza that's going around. He'll be fine.
Yeah, as long as his temperature stays below 104.
Yeah, that's what he said.
You know what the meds were for? It's so amazing.
One was to reduce the fever.
Yeah,
One
but
was
he's got an acid condition, and that just makes the flu worse.
He's got a what?
An acid condition.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
I thought to myself, wow, groovy. The kid's pretty sweet.
But isn't it like I don't know
different
if
kind of acid, but I immediately thought of that. I was like,
yeah, he was on acid. Is that what you're getting at? Yes.
Yeah, he's got an acid problem. We got to reduce that first.
This is about a kid who's taking LSD.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know how old the kid was either.
It was written in probably like 1937 or something. So that checks out.
Yeah. We're not looking it up at this point, right?
Yeah. So a very simple story, and nothing's really going on. And then the dad's just kind of hanging out with him and reading a pirate book out loud.
But then he stops because the kid's not listening.
And the kid's like, "It's okay if you don't want to be here with me." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like,
he's like, "Fine, I'm out of here."
So he eventually does leave.
He goes
and
hunting.
He goes hunting.
Yeah, quail hunting.
And he gets some quails.
Of a covey. What is a covey?
I guess that's a bunch of quails.
I guess.
Covey. You know what a covey is, though, right?
No.
Oh no, that's a coven.
Oh yeah. Well, that's different.
That's like witches.
Right.
Covey. I've heard covey, I feel, but anyway.
All right.
It's just like a bunch of quails, and he shoots a bunch of them, and he's happy about it. And he comes home, and he has a dog with him.
Yep. And it's kind of a nice day by himself. Without the sick kid.
Yeah. And I guess one thing I would ask you as a reader, first-time reader of the story, what do you think the author gained by having this, like, hunting scene in between the beginning and the end? Because the beginning and the end is what the story is. The story... Right. By the way, we don't do spoilers and all that. These 2 stories we're talking about today, I really would recommend people
100%.
read them first, because they both have endings that if you know it before you start reading it, I think you'll have less pleasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't say they're like trick endings, but they're interesting endings. And
they're interesting and
not necessarily what you expect. So anyway,
the M. Night Shyamalan ending is what you're saying. That's sort of a trick ending.
I suppose. But, I don't know. I only know the Sixth Sense, and it's like, oh, he's a ghost. I don't know about that.
Wait, what? Really?
Sorry. We can cut this out.
That was next on my.
We can cut this out.
I hadn't seen that one.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So what do you think? Point? What do you think? Why do you think Hemingway? What was he up to having him go hunting?
There was some joy in his day. He's taking care of a sick kid, and it was like a bit of an escape. It was kind of ugly out. It was really icy. The dog and him slipping. He dropped the gun once, slid away from him.
Yeah.
It's sort of the, getting out in a way. The kid doesn't really need him. I don't know. That's what I took.
There's also just a practical thing that if you don't have something in the middle, you need to delay the punchline to make it effective.
Which the punchline in this was great.
Yeah, and so it's a day's wait. If you don't actually have a day, then the reader doesn't have any sense of waiting. But I think there's more to it. He could have gone out shopping.
Right.
Like, then I'm going to go run errands. But instead he goes hunting. I think for Hemingway, hunting is this primal thing that men do. He's always concerned about men and that's the next story, of course. And hunting, the thing that a man understands, they understand life and death.
Yes.
And hunters are always seen in Hemingway as respecting the things they kill. And it's never frivolous. It's like they take it seriously. Yeah. And,
I think the next story that might be a stretch.
About frivolous?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is some speech with the hunter Wilson.
Yeah.
He sees it as this big honorable thing that you do.
Well, let's finish off this one because it's...
So he goes hunting and then he comes back and then Schatz is acting even weirder, and he takes his temperature again, and this time it's 102.4.
Yeah.
And Schatz is like, how long, before I die?
Yeah.
He's like, what are you talking
He's like,
about?
Hold on. He's like,
Yeah, you're
say
not
what
gonna
home
die.
slice?
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. And then the kid says, well, it's that, the kids in France say that you can't live with a 44-degree fever.
Yeah, when we used to live in France, so this is a kid who, had this, like, international upbringing. And, I have, mine's 102, so I knew
I'm dead.
I'm a goner. Yeah. And
practically dead already.
Yeah. And
he's like, it's miles and kilometers. It's
yeah. And he just explains to him, no, it's how when we drive 100 kilometers, it's only 80 miles or 70 miles or whatever.
62.5.
Nice.
But anyway,
hey,
not that I would know that.
Who's counting? That was good.
You
Especially
know how
if you're
I know
right.
that, by the way?
How?
Oh, I'm right. Yeah, it's because 0 to 100 kilometers an hour is a measure of acceleration in Europe.
Sure.
And so then when they translate that to,
I should have said
American,
98 miles so that it wouldn't have been so easy for you. Then you'd have to
59.
You'd have to do calculations and all that.
I do all right. Yeah.
You did good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
160 kilometers an hour is about 100
How
miles
many
an hour.
kilometers is a marathon?
Oh, gee.
You need a
thanks
pen?
a lot.
You
Yeah,
need a pen?
I do. I probably need a computer.
Well, you were getting
50-something.
cocky. Somebody.
I know. 50-something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
50?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be 50, would it?
Yeah.
It's 20,
50. Oh,
26 miles.
No, 50 is 31. So it's like 47, 46, 45.
46.
This is the section of the podcast where we just sit here and do math and record it. It's pretty great.
Yeah, this is entertaining stuff. This is good radio.
It's great radio.
Yeah.
I love it. That's what we're after.
And essentially, that's the story.
Well, my favorite was the last line.
Yeah, well, but let's just kind of like sit on the revelation of the end. It's just the dad just goes, wow, my 9-year-old sat all day long holding in the certainty that he was going to die by the end of the day.
Right.
Like a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of relaxes and very slowly kind of like starts relaxing. And then you want to give us that final line.
I do. The next day, he cried at little things that were of no importance.
Yeah.
What a fucking phenomenal line.
Yeah, it's great.
Because the kid goes from the weight of the world is on his shoulders and he is dying to...
And he's not freaking out.
No.
He's actually handling it with this tremendous amount of grace. Yeah. And he's even telling his dad, you don't have to be here with me. For one thing, he doesn't want him to get what he has, but also he's caring about other people. It's like this heroic effort that this kid puts through, and then the next day he cries at
things that didn't matter.
Because
he knew he was going to make it.
Well, nothing matters after you realize
you're
going to live.
I thought this was a brilliant story.
Yeah,
and it was,
me too.
And I couldn't find the audio version of it, so I just had to read it.
You poor
I know. It's 4 pages.
Yeah.
You put me through that?
Well.
I know. You wanted to see if I would go out and see if I would actually
This is
read
actually just a literacy project that I've made a bet with somebody, kind of like...
How many you can get me to read?
Yeah. I'm going to see if I can take a tech bro and teach him how to read.
I don't think you can. I'm pretty sure you can't.
Well, we're working on it.
I actually listened to a free version of this audio recording by somebody on YouTube. So joke's on you. I didn't even read it.
Somebody on YouTube is just reading it.
They did a nice job too. I should probably. I want to give them a ding, but I don't know who.
Was it video too?
No, it was just a still picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Somebody just doing the Lord's work, I guess.
I know. And then the next one I had
Keeping
to buy.
you from having to read.
Yeah. I had to buy The Snows of Kilimanjaro, which I wanted to listen to anyway.
I don't think that's too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
and
a
so
good
that
purchase.
it was on that. And it was on, I'm on Audible. And so it's 1 credit for 1 book.
Okay.
And so
that's how
I
that
look
works.
for as many of the short stories as I can get. In one of them, I'm like, all right, which ones cover me? So I was like, well.
So I have
really
this here collected stories.
Yeah.
And from 1921 to 1938.
We have a friend, Chris. That is his favorite Hemingway. Yeah, and probably both.
This selection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shampoo Planet, maybe his favorite book, which is very good.
Yeah.
We might want to do that one.
Okay. I don't even know what it is.
Douglas
Seems
Copeland.
familiar-ish. What?
Yeah, Douglas Copeland. Very good.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know Generation
it's novelty.
X.
Yeah. Yeah, it's novelty, where...
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
So, that...
The next one
Wonderful
is
story, right?
other level for me. And so, it's like pause us here and go read The Short Happy Life of Francis Macomber because...
So I'm rereading it, of course, and I'm sitting there in the bedroom, and I just propped up on the bed with the pillows and just kind of reading with pencils out. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through, taking notes.
I imagine you drive your wife crazy.
And my wife walked
Yeah.
in and started yelling at me because
Yeah.
I didn't go grocery shopping.
I knew it. See? Oh my God! And we had not talked about this. I'm picturing that you drive her nuts reading in bed in general. Like
Probably.
lights are on. You've got like note taking equipment everywhere, and you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
Exactly.
Slacker. Slacker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we
Wow.
were living it, man. I was reading the story and living the story. So so Hemingway, I think a lazy way to read Hemingway and a lazy critique of him is that he's just this Neanderthal
Super macho
man who's a sexist and his I think that is not a hey man, grab a bookmark. Check us out.
You think
But he actually okay, if you read this story and it's the only story that you've ever read by Hemingway,
Yeah.
you could be forgiven for thinking he may not have a great opinion of women, because Margaret is the demon of this story,
the Mem Sahib.
the Mem Sahib, and so, but all of his female characters are what they call these days strong female characters.
God.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Thanks.
Oh
Oh
boy.
no, this is gonna get ugly.
Yes, thanks.
Appreciate it. I think.
So we got something.
Yeah.
What do you think it is?
Oh wow, that is tequila.
Thank you. Cheers.
Wait, what am I doing?
It's
here?
some kind of a pickle. Oh, it's
Okay.
all right.
Okay, good.
All right. We're gonna do this.
We're gonna die. All right.
There we go.
Cheers.
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 Cheers, guys. Woo!
That is really good.
That does taste good.
Oh yeah. Oh, tequila and hot sauce. Oh man.
Nice.
That's a recipe for heartburn. Also. A little bit. Yeah.
We'll take the heartburn pill and
thank you.
antacid. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So, yeah, where was
talking
I?
about her.
Yeah, she.
So Mrs. Macomber.
Oh, what I was going to say though is his female characters. Let me put it this way: I don't think I think he's kind of the opposite of a simple-minded, Neanderthal macho man. In fact, for the 1930s, he's obsessed with gender roles and gender, and he's always has these female characters that have completely masculine traits, and they're all vicious.
Oh, she
and
was
they
vicious.
always are wanting what they want, getting it more often than not.
True.
And his men are more
Lady
likely,
Brett comes to mind.
and his men more likely are kind of wimpy and get pushed around easily.
So Francis was definitely wimpy.
Yes.
And it's established in the first, couple pages, I would imagine. I listened, of course.
He's
So
a
in few
coward.
minutes.
Yeah.
Total coward.
It just stops. It starts off with the line.
Something happened, basically.
Yeah, because we were
He ran away.
pretending like nothing happened.
Right.
That's the first
Yeah.
line.
And so he describes Francis Macomber as tall, very well built if you didn't mind that length of bone.
Weird.
So amazing. And he's 35. We also have Robert Wilson, who is the guide.
The Great White Hunter.
Yep.
He's the professional hunter.
He is. And then there's some ancillary characters that are the what are they? The gun
carriers.
gun
These are all
carriers.
the African helpers, I guess, and
Right.
you can.
Thank you, sir.
They're servants essentially, but they're not they also play a really important role in that they are kind of like the upholders of this kind of unspoken code of the hunt and of like masculinity. There are certain things that you do and certain things that you don't do.
Right.
And even though the servants don't have a lot of power, they definitely have their opinion about what is right and what is not right.
And in this, I don't feel like they voiced a lot of that.
They didn't voice it, but it's there.
Yeah, they know there's dirty looks, or there was, Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But also Robert Wilson kind of had to kind of talk to them, and some of them, they would look at Francis with like contempt, and then kind of turn away from him.
Right. Well, because of what happened on that first hunt, which we're sort of led to believe.
So before we learn what happens in the hunt, but except that he had very publicly shown himself to be a coward, which is just straightforwardly said by the narrator.
Yeah.
So he's. But the important thing is that his wife shows up, and she's like mortified to be married to such a loser, and does not make any kind of secret about it. And he just kind of mopes and apologizes and tries to make a joke of it. And then
it's a very uncomfortable. They're like exchanging smiles, and they're talking about how they got this lion.
They carry him on. They carry Francis on their backs because they do that because he's the paying customer. But the gun holders had nothing to do with that ceremony.
Right.
Like they kind of turned their backs on it.
Right.
Because it's all bullshit.
Right.
And so we don't know what happened except that he showed us.
Is that actually, we're saying that's what they did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. All the servants had to carry Francis on their shoulders like he had bagged
We have progressed
a
a very long way beyond that. Let me just say that now, because you would be laughed out of Africa if you were going to go on a hunt and do something like that now. Of course, you can't go hunt lions, probably. Be a bad idea.
Yeah, and this is probably a different kind of. It's the customer is always right, though, and that's. So Robert Wilson, the professional hunter, he has this term. I wanted to say that to you. If you say, "Hey, how are you doing today, Kill?"
Still drinking my whiskey.
Drinking your whiskey.
Whiskey. Yep.
Drinking Steve's whiskey.
Yep.
How'd the podcast go? I like that one.
Drinking Kelly's whiskey.
Yeah.
Which meant it's the worst possible.
Everything is going to hell.
Yeah.
But at least
I love that expression.
But at least you're getting paid.
I thought that was going to come up later. That was one of those, I'm like, oh, this is going to come up later, and he's going to say it, and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
But it's Hemingway, and that's like all it needed to be, was right where it was.
And the idea of it comes back up in that as tough as Robert Wilson is, he is also a servant.
Yes, and he kind of knows it.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
And he has to play along, and he doesn't like it. But he's got to do it.
Can I tell you the way that the voice was done by Stacey Keach
Sure.
And it was hilarious in that I feel like it's how a lot of Americans think that British people talk, but they definitely don't talk that way.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, quite right, old boy. I will. It's like he turns and speaks Swahili and turns back to Macomber and, yes, we should get out of the car. And it's amazing. It was one of those, I'm like, we think they talk like that, but they definitely don't.
But in like the 1930s, it might have been, they might have sounded a little bit more like, I don't know.
I say no.
Okay.
Prove me wrong without going to the internet. You can't.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm fine with
we're just
us being wrong about.
No, yeah, we're
British
definitely
accents.
I'm probably wrong. I don't
say.
care. I do say, good boy, old boy, and like there was that. It was.
Yeah.
And, he clearly worked on it, so I'll give it to him. He sounded good, but I feel like it's what we think they sound like, but they don't.
I'm going to read just a little bit of the interaction between among the three characters who were all having drinks.
Oh, they're drinking gimlets, which we should try to order here.
Yeah,
sometime.
We should have some gimlets.
Yeah.
And this is Margaret talking to the hunter. You know you have a very red face, Mr. Wilson, she told him and smiled again. Drink, Wilson said. I don't think so, she said. Francis drinks a great deal, but his face is never red. It's red today, Macomber tried a joke. No, said Margaret, it's mine that's red today. But Mr. Wilson's is
embarrassed.
always red. Must be racial, said Wilson. I say, you wouldn't like to drop my beauty as a topic, would you? I've just started on it. Let's chuck it, said Wilson.
I love that.
It's,
because she's
she's flirting with him.
She was so beautiful, by the way, that she had endorsed a beauty product with pictures.
Yeah.
I like this. That she had never used.
Yeah.
The nerve.
She got $5,000.
$5,000.
A picture, probably a lot of money in the
Yeah.
1930s. So
Yep.
she was a model, and she was a beauty past her prime. And she's married to a very rich guy.
Yep.
And Francis.
Yeah.
And
Francis.
so we eventually find out what happened.
Yeah.
And do you want to tell us what happened?
Well,
or how did we get
he got scared. They
Yeah.
were hunting a lion.
I have to say, it was really built up as the most shameful thing ever. And I was just like, yeah, kind of embarrassing, but
But also, you were hunting a lion and got scared.
the lion started running at them
Yes.
out of the bushes, and
Yeah.
he turned and ran. That is kind of understandable from my perspective.
Yeah.
I think I would hope that I would be brave if I were in that circumstance.
I know
but,
I wouldn't be.
But if I weren't, I would joke about it, and I would probably feel a little dumb, but I don't feel like it would be all that ended up happening.
Have you ever hunted anything?
Oh yeah,
Really?
rabbits.
Really?
I went shooting rabbits, not with my dad when I was
with
a little
22 or something?
Yeah, a little
Like
22 rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hit a jackrabbit. It's just something we have in California.
Okay.
From super far away. It was like a crazy good shot. Like
Nice.
even kind of have a.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. We have. We're getting notes from.
Oh,
You want to read while I talk?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it was my dad was like a hippie guy, and he just kind of took me out.
It's a
hunting.
recommendation.
Oh, nice.
I like it.
We got a rec. We'll check it out.
Well, we'll check it out.
But no, it wasn't like putting camo gear on and
Yeah.
putting waders on and doing it. It was just me and my hippie dad. And I think I can say this because it was, I can say this because it's far beyond the statute of limitations.
Okay.
But he had a marijuana crop out in the.
And you had to keep the rabbits away from it.
No, it wasn't
Oh.
the rabbits, but that got him to start carrying a gun. And because somebody pinched
People.
it.
Yeah.
Somebody stole the crop one year. So then he started
How
sleeping.
old were you?
I was just like little. I was probably like in fourth grade or something like that.
Did you know?
Yes, I did. I very much did. And so he became kind of like somebody who had a shotgun, and he practiced with it. And so he took me out just rabbit hunting. In the desert, there's like rabbits behind every tree.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, so that's what we did.
I've never hunted anything.
No.
No, mostly because I think I'd be really bored. I mean, I've shot guns and stuff, and that's gunplay. It's kind of fun. Go shoot at a target.
Yeah.
Clay pigeons.
I've done that. That is fun.
But then
Waiting
for a really long time,
Yeah.
and then if I pull the trigger, I might end up killing something.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of the goal.
Yeah.
I'm glad people do it.
You're a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah,
huh?
I'm glad people do, especially around here with the deer that we have.
Yeah.
I'd hit a deer every time I went back to my house from here.
Yeah.
And so, I'm good.
Yeah, there's
but
too many of those.
Not in me.
Do you like venison and all
I
that kind of
do.
stuff? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Somebody gives me a venison steak.
yeah.
Definitely.
For
Elk.
sure. Yep.
Elk.
Also good.
Yeah. So
Tasty. All right.
Elon, not as good as Elon.
I don't know what that
That's
is.
what they were eating. They were eating these steaks called Elon.
Oh.
Yeah,
What is that?
That's what they had for dinner, like while they were kind of talking. Anyway, let's get back to the story.
Okay.
So we find out that he basically runs away.
He bolted.
And
Yeah.
then the hunter has to go in and kill the lion. Okay,
Right.
so he shoots the lion twice in the gut, and the lion's alive, and it runs.
Well, that was later, I thought. No?
No, that's what Macomber hits it.
But that's what happens on the first one with the one that he ran away from.
Yeah.
So we start with that, and then we go backwards, because this is something I was going to ask you.
Okay.
Because I was like, wait, so they go out after another lion? No.
No, there's just one lion.
And Wilson was pissed because it was a gut shot.
Yeah.
And
Macomber wanted to leave it.
Yeah.
And he goes, why can't we just leave it?
He's
and
like,
he goes, well, because it's suffering and because somebody else might. And he goes, how about, can we get some kids to go and try to, like, they call them beaters or something. He goes, well, it's kind of murderous.
Right.
Sending these, like, unarmed kids into the try to scare it off.
He's like, we would normally do it if the thing wasn't injured, but now that it's injured, it might really cause a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
totally.
Yeah.
And so Macomber definitely didn't handle himself well in any way, and then he bolts.
He wants to also know, well, can't we just burn it?
Yeah.
Can we just burn the brush?
Well, and he said we would, but it's not dry enough.
Which I also thought was, I'm like, wait, they would just burn that?
Yeah.
What? I just thought it was.
Yeah, I don't know how sporting this whole thing is. You know, I mean, it's rich.
Well, that was another problem.
It's rich people coming to Africa, and they're gonna get. And he says later, every man here in Africa, every man gets his lion,
right,
and something else, like
right.
So
then
Macomber makes a fool of himself, or just shows himself to be a coward, and Hemingway describes the fear. And also he talks about how the fear hasn't gotten any worse. It was just there in him, even the next day. And but it also goes into the point of view of the lion.
I was going to say, this is where we start shifting the point of view, which for me, Hemingway as a hunter, I never would have thought he was thinking, what's the lion thinking? And the lion is very eloquent, I might add.
Yeah.
The lion's like, what the hell was that? There was something hot that ripped through me. There was a noise.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go get that thing that made that. Oh, my God, there's another shot. And,
yeah.
And it was like thinking these things, but also, it was a really, I thought, interesting literary device to switch to the point of view of the animal.
Oh, totally interesting. And this story shifts
a couple
all
times.
The different characters.
Isn't that great? I love that.
That doesn't happen that often in short stories.
Oh my God, I feel like the English professor right now. Look what you've done to me.
It happens.
I'm sort of literate now.
Yeah,
sort of.
You know about point of view.
I do.
And it is usually, like, novels will shift points of view a lot. Usually in a short story, most writers will stick to one point of view because every time you shift, you can lose your reader. But Hemingway just has no problem with that.
It took me a second. Yeah. And I was like, wait, Macomber got shot? And I was like, wait, no. It's the lion. Okay.
So there's a point of view. There's a stable point of view in this story. And to me, the point of view is like the voice of the hunt. It's like the voice of the authority of
I knew you were an English professor the hell out of this thing.
The hunting code,
you
know, and there's a certain way to do things. You don't gut shot a lion and then leave it.
You don't shoot from the fucking car.
You don't shoot from the car. Yeah. That is, absolutely the worst insult.
It is.
And so there was this one line, I would look it up, but I think it'll probably take too long. But it's something the narrator tells us. Wilson, something like, considered the way the lion felt.
Yes.
He thought because to be a hunter, you have to put yourself in the place of the hunted.
Yes.
And that's empathy. That's why he had so much respect for it. And he also, when it did its last kind of charge, he had admiration for this animal that kept coming even though his head was blown off.
Yeah. It was missing. It was like disfigured face.
And it was still kind of trying to come toward him. And he said he had this kind of admiration for it. And it said, Francis Macomber never thought about what the lion felt. And there's something about being a man and courage and all that is wrapped up in empathy, and which is kind of counterintuitive.
Well, because Wilson had none.
No empathy? None. Well, no, he did. I mean, that was the case I was making, is that he did know he knew what the lion was going through when it was gut shot.
I guess I meant with Macomber.
Oh no, they always were talking about his cold blue eyes.
Yeah.
He had these machine gun, like the eyes of a machine gunner.
Yeah.
and he could be cold, but he also wasn't. He did care. Like, he got wrapped up in caring about Macomber, basically.
Well,
but then
he started
gets
to
over
like
it.
him more as it went on, and he
he's-
felt badly for him because
He's
it turns
pretty
out
pissed.
that
let's not jump up. Let's,
okay.
Let's kind of like try to keep it.
All right, we'll keep a
so-
lid on it.
So Macomber, yeah. Anyway, we and so now we know
We know what happened.
what happened, and then Macomber probably would have shaken it off, or everybody would have just ignored it awkwardly, except that Margaret, his wife,
Yeah.
the lower Macomber was, the stronger she seemed
Yeah.
to get, and
She was feeding off of
oh,
it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
and she's humiliating him,
Yeah.
and then he wakes up in the middle of the night,
And
and there's no.
where is she?
She's not there.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
I wonder where she is. She was
And he's-
flirting with
and he
with
sits-
Wilson.
And he sits there in the cot for 2 hours.
2 hours.
And then she comes back.
He's like, "Where were you?"
And her answer
We should act this out.
Her
Where, where were you?
she's like, taking a walk.
What do you mean taking a walk?
Just taking a walk.
Wait,
What do
where?
you want me to say, Francis?
Where?
Like,
Like, I want
gonna
answers.
are we going to really talk about this?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
I'm sorry, dear.
We're
I'm
fantastic
tired.
at this,
I'm
by the
going
way.
to sleep. But she is just.
She's like, "Look."
She is
And he's
just
like, "You promised you wouldn't
She
anymore."
goes, and I wasn't going to, but then you did that yesterday.
Yeah, then this thing happened, and the trip turned out like it did. So
Yeah, and so
I
this is
slept
what's
with him.
happening.
Yeah, like whatever.
So-
That was my favorite part. Was you said it wouldn't be like this anymore.
You hate her and you hate him. Like
Oh,
they're just so grotesque as a couple.
and
like,
really all three of them are pretty terrible.
I thought that Wilson was cool, and basically the next morning,
I felt
Macomber
like
comes in
Wilson-
and he's like being really pissy about it, and Wilson's like, so now we have to do this, huh?
And he does.
Okay.
He does pretty much
goes,
say
what?
that.
What do you think? Does he think I'm some kind of a plaster saint?
Right.
You know, this fine-looking woman comes into my tent.
Right.
What am I supposed to do?
Can we say that she at one point she came out of the tent and she was described as having a very perfect oval face, so perfect you'd expect her to be stupid, but she wasn't. It's so good.
Yeah,
it's
great.
so good. It's still great.
Oh, thank you, bud.
Appreciate it. Well, my gosh, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Take. So
Well, we're getting fans here.
Making friends at the bar today.
Don't know how we're gonna drink another pitcher.
Shots and pictures.
Shots and pitchers.
And then
They were not sober.
we're going to dinner. Where
After?
there will be more drinks.
I thought maybe they ate dinner here.
No.
Oh.
Are we not supposed to say that?
Yeah. No, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have dinner plans
I made
after
some
this.
Q.
Some Q.
No, you hate it when
Did
people
you-
say Q, right? Because I do.
I just, as you said it, I had a bad feeling,
Good.
but I didn't think about it.
Regurgitated.
But
Yeah.
did you hunt did you find that chicken like like in an honorable way, or did you?
Hy-Vee.
All right.
So I hunted it down in the poultry aisle, poultry
All right.
section of and I looked at several to make sure that the two of them that I got looked good. Do what I can.
You know what?
It's really.
You are.
I know.
Quite the
I am
hunt-
really
you're the
Robert Wilson. I am Wilson.
You really are. So.
Quite right, old boy.
So she sleeps with Wilson, and then Wilson the next day is like, I'm just not even going to talk to these people anymore. I'm going to do my
Basically.
job.
Yep.
And I'm not going to sleep with her again.
And we're going out to hunt
I
buffs.
I want nothing to do with either one of these losers.
Yeah.
And he feels sorry for Macomber, but he's like, it's his own damn fault,
It's his own dumb fault.
Yes. And so they go out to hunt buffalo. And
Buff. He called him Buff.
Buff.
I love that.
And they're kind of driving along, and then they find 3 big ones.
Yeah, 3 big males.
Yeah. And Macomber's like, does he say we should shoot from? That was the lion. Should we shoot at it from the?
No. He starts to shoot it from the car.
He doesn't. He said he's going to, but he does. But
and
Wilson says,
Wilson's
no.
like, oh.
Are you a fool?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
You can't
goes-
shoot from the car.
You can't shoot, fool.
Yeah.
And so then they jump out of the car.
Yep.
and they start shooting.
And he
while
hits the
they're-
first one.
Yeah. And
But then he really whiffs on the next two.
he does, and they're both shooting them, and there's this whole like shooting the buffalo scene that is pretty action oriented.
They hit the second. So Wilson hits the second in the front, and he goes snout first into the ground.
Yeah.
And, there's bullets flying, and, there's a puff of dirt, so he missed, but it's in the dark, so I'm not sure how we're seeing.
And then they have to hop back in the truck to get the third one.
To get the third one.
It's getting away.
And
so-
they're really not supposed to do that.
So Mem Sahib,
which is Mrs. Macomber.
Mrs. Macomber is saying, "Oh, you're not supposed to like do," and
You're not supposed to be
and
shooting.
she goes, "Oh,
that's not very sporting."
What would happen?" He goes, "Well, it's pretty sporting. It seemed to me at the time the way they were running." And she goes, "Oh, what would happen?" And he's like, "Well, I would lose my license and blah blah blah." And then Francis is starting to laugh. He goes, "Now she has something on you."
Yeah.
And now they're sort of like forming a bond
But
over
Francis
this.
really starts to get dialed in on the
he
hunt.
does.
He loves it.
He's feeling good.
He loves
and
it.
he just and the fear just isn't there anymore. And he wants to go
he
chase
is
these
no
things
longer
down.
a pansy.
It happens instantly.
Well, it's a short story.
But okay, it's a tough sell that somebody changes that profoundly that quickly in a short story. And I think the reason why this is such a famous story is because Hemingway pulls it off.
No,
Yeah.
you believe it.
And
Yeah.
Wilson goes, he'd seen it happen before, and he almost gets misty-eyed, like these boy men become men on the hunt.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and then he gives that little talk about
I will never become a man then because I can never hunt anything. But anyway.
Remember the Shakespeare line that he basically talks about this Shakespeare line because they're talking and about Macomber's like, is this how you always feel when you hunt? Like this excitement?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
It's better not to talk about it too much.
Right,
Shep.
right.
But he's
it'll wear off if you I don't know.
and so as Macomber starts feeling good about himself, all of a sudden, Mrs. Macomber, Margaret,
she gets involved.
She starts getting scared.
Yeah.
So Wilson looks
He's
at her,
empowered.
and she's starting to try to insult him and threaten him and go, "Oh, you guys are shooting those helpless things from the car." He goes, "We didn't shoot from the car," and
Wilson's defending him.
oh, totally,
Yeah.
And they're like, "All right," and they're buddies now. And
are.
this guy has had this, and he goes, "You know what? I'm never going to be scared again, I don't think." And that sounds like a corny line, but you believe it in the
And
story.
they got to go clean up the third buffalo,
Yeah.
right? The third buff.
Yeah.
Because they need to go kill it.
But before they get to that, Margaret says something like, he's like, "You know what? I don't think I'm scared anymore. I don't think I'm ever going to be scared again." And she goes, "Isn't it a bit late for that, honey?" And he goes, "It isn't for me." And
Right.
it's like, and then
Dot,
Wilson
dot, dot.
is like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's going to leave her."
Yeah.
And if he leaves her, she's going to lose all that money,
Right.
and she's not pretty enough to get another rich guy. And
Wow.
so it's like
This is serious
huge,
business.
this huge kind of power shift, and she starts acting
Yes.
like trying to be insulting, and
Yeah.
he goes, "Oh, but her attempts to insult him are insecure,
He's basically ready to go to work with Wilson at this point.
Yeah, or whatever.
He's
just
like,
done with.
do I have to learn Swahili? I'm
Yeah,
in.
yeah, he's
like,
in.
can I do this all the time?
Yeah.
I'm in.
And so they need to clean up the big buffalo
Yeah.
that he hit. But
So
then,
they all drive out there. They made the trek out with the vehicle. They're not going to shoot from the car. He gets out, and he gets lined up, and he's going to shoot the buffalo. And all of a sudden, all he can feel is basically.
wait.
Oh,
But wait, did you say that the buffalo had run into the woods, right?
Not yet,
Did you
I
say
didn't
that?
say- nope.
Okay.
but the buffalo had run off.
It had run off into the woods, so they had to go and like kind of approach it just like they did with the lion.
Right.
Like, the thing was wounded but dangerous. And the guy's like, "Okay, it's got this like big horn in the front of its head, and
you can't shoot it through the head because the horn is protecting the brain.
yeah,
basically,
and so you got to hit it in the snout or in the throat.
yes,
And so they go toward
hit
it,
in the snout.
and the thing starts charging.
Right.
And also Macomber's like, hey, after this, let's get a lion.
Yeah.
I want to really, and he's like, there you go. That's the gumption, you know.
Way to go, old boy.
And there's a lot of this, these American man boys.
Yeah.
And he's like, they always surprise you. Like
We surprise everyone. We're American man boys, really.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
man children.
And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you think that they're just the most cowardly people, and then all of a sudden they're
I
brave.
probably am cowardly for the most part. Yeah.
That's why you're so good at running. Think about that.
I know.
And
I'm practicing. I'm like, oh, sorry, honey. You and the kids are probably screwed. I can run faster than you and longer. Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I love you, honey.
You're not wrong. Luckily, they don't listen to the
they
podcast.
definitely don't. No, yeah.
So, the buffalo is charging, and it's kind of scary. And this thing's huge, and it's gonna, it'll gore him, and they're both shooting at it.
Buffalo are quite dangerous.
And Macomber is holding his spot and just firing. Oh, and also Wilson talks about being in the war. He goes, "Oh, I'd seen it happen on the front lines."
Okay, yeah.
That all of a sudden these boys would just become men and would lose the fear.
Oh God!
And
Speaking of things that I would not be good at.
And that's the line that he said was, "The fear is replaced by something else." And he doesn't say what that something else was, but it was the essence of manhood for Hemingway.
And there was nothing in the story about anybody with injured junk. So it was very not Hemingway.
Which
in that
is,
sense.
if you don't know what Steve's talking about, that's the Jake.
It's like every main character in any of the novels, right? Because it's also in Farewell to Arms.
Yeah.
It's he's an ambulance driver, but for some reason he can't have lady friends.
Yeah.
Like, it's just anyway.
Hemingway was concerned about that.
Right.
For sure.
I know.
So, whoa.
Hello. Hi.
For those of you listening and
You
not
should
watching.
now go watch. We won't describe it, what just happened.
Yeah, it's
me not able
a
to-
minor tragedy that could have been a major.
Yeah. Some
Tragedy.
alcohol abuse involved.
I feel like your shame is similar to Francis Macomber's.
Did we do this
now,
on
and-
purpose? I feel like this is scripted. All right, Wilson. fine.
Yeah.
So should we say what ends up?
Yeah, let's just do it.
Right.
And he's about to shoot the buffalo through the snout because his first two shots ricocheted off its, bony kind of horn thing that's protecting its head. And then there's this white hot something, and that's all. That's the last thing.
Last
he
thing he
felt.
knows, through the back of his head.
And of course, what happened is his wife
And it's spelled out.
shot
too,
him.
right? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like we're. Now that would be a pretty cool way to end it. By the way.
Yeah, but
But it's not Hemingway to do that.
and
it's
so she
like-
shot him in the back of the
And
head.
she's
She
like,
was
"Oh no!"
she was
Oh,
aiming
my."
at she was trying to shoot the buffalo because she was
Sure she
worried
was.
about him.
Yeah. After
And
all of this,
where did she shoot from?
She shot from the car.
She was in the car
Yeah.
and shot not the buffalo but her husband
Yeah.
through the back of the head.
And
And,
Wilson doesn't buy any of it.
Wilson is extremely bitter, and
He's
kind
like,
of,
great. Well,
he
for
sort
the
of gets.
Inquisition that happens, I'll
He
need
goes,
to
yeah,
get-
don't worry, you'll be. We'll basically rig it so you don't go to jail, but
Right. Yeah.
he goes, but there'll be some unpleasantness.
Yeah.
And she's crying, and no, stop. And he's like, just keeps going. And she goes, please, stop. Do you have the
I don't.
the last line? And he goes, okay, since you said please, that's better. I'll stop now. That's it.
It was. So I want to go back now to the title
Yeah.
because
His
he
life was about 30 minutes maybe, or
because he was happy for a very short period of his life.
oh yeah, the last
Truly
15
happy.
minutes of it or
And
something.
so that's why it is the short, happy life of Francis Macomber.
Oh yeah. No
and I
doubt about
loved that.
Yeah.
And
Great story,
and
huh?
that felt a little English professory of me to have noticed. I'm like, oh, well, that's why it's the short, happy life because it's very short.
It was English professor of you to notice that the title had some meaning that
I
related to
never
the rest
noticed.
of the story.
You know that, right? I mean,
I'm not-
one of the things we still
not
have not
being
read, and we're
sarcastic
going to,
or- yeah.
is Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Which is pretty obvious
What the title
what
is
the
about.
title is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like and what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's the level of
So
right?
this should have been titled. This might have been titled the hunting trip
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's just like generic
a
as a
critter
fly, man.
The
The great white hunter just
I
shooed that fly away. Like,
Yeah.
Look at this corpse.
I know.
There's a dead bug.
You're definitely with our new camera.
Oh, you have a new phone, huh?
I do.
Nice.
I had to.
Nice. Because of this?
No.
Oh, okay. Good. I mean,
I got a new phone last year, and I was like, you know what? It's worth enough. I'm gonna
good.
upgrade.
I'm sure it's gonna make us look even more beautiful.
I was gonna say, I have pictures of me from my race. I did take the medal off. I have pictures of me from the race where I'm like, do I really look that old?
Yeah.
I was like, I look old and tired and kind of fat. I was like, God damn it. I was like, this is no good.
Drunk, fat, and stupid's no way to go through life, son.
It really is, though,
you know,
isn't it?
yeah, au contraire, right?
Yeah,
it's exactly the way to go through.
Oh, but I disagree. Okay, so what's your favorite Hemingway piece? Short story, novel? Hit me with it.
Oh. That's an interesting question.
The only kind I ask.
And not one that I think about that much because I tend to just...
When you're a professional, you have to be able to take all of them in and appreciate everything.
I just like them all in different ways, and it's
Okay.
the whole package in a way. But I do like The Sun Also Rises quite a lot. And these stories I like, which is why I recommended them, particularly The Short Happy Life of Francis Macomber.
Like,
It hits on all levels.
It does.
And it's just exciting to read, and the payoff is
quick. The
big.
payoff's awesome.
Yeah. But he's got a lot of good ones, and I think that what's great about Hemingway and what separates, in my mind, literature from just entertainment fiction is that every time I read it, I get a different sort of take, and I want to read them over and over. So I don't know.
What was the different take this time?
The different take, well, that's interesting. I'm not sure I know right off the bat, except that my loathing for Margaret was a little more intense this time.
Oh, really?
Like,
I kind of got a kick out of her.
Yeah, but I felt like when she was torturing him, when he was like, she was kicking him when he was down, like in the...
I felt like he had it coming.
Yeah,
I was like,
you're
no,
not wrong.
Fuck you too. Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I thought I was like, all right. She's got a perfectly oval face. Not that she was. You'd think she was stupid, but she wasn't.
She wasn't.
She was not.
There's that bit about where Wilson's like, but then the woman. Yes, the woman. Mm-hmm, the woman.
Yeah.
It's just he doesn't know how to think about her. I liked. I think maybe a new read on this was how. Here's a question: Where do you think the Great White Hunter is from? We don't get his nationality, do we?
We don't.
Or is it just English? Because he says
like
good old boy.
Yeah, he's. I mean, that's Stacy
Good old
Keach.
boy, that's not what I meant.
He meant old boy.
Old boy, yeah.
Yes, of course.
So he's British.
I mean, according to Stacy Keach, he is.
It sounds right because it's
does.
like the imperialist kind of like we're going to go into Africa and tame it and all that. And
Right.
he's just one of those guys.
Yeah. He's got the hat up on one side like the Aussies do.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I thought that his observations about Americans probably hit differently from this because I've spent so much time outside of America the last few years.
Yeah.
And just I also really took very seriously the idea he has broad. Wilson has a broad kind of like idea about American women, and they're just killers. They're just vicious.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
And of course that's not true, all of them, but it was an interesting perspective from a European.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that both of us married European women.
True.
And so maybe we can't really speak to the veracity of this kind of like generalization that's going on here. But I was thinking about that, and that was new because I think last time I read it, I was not married. So
it's been a hot minute because you've been married a while.
I have been. Yeah. It's been probably 20 years or something.
Don't go hunting with her.
Would never do that. I wouldn't like her with a gun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't. I mean, I feel like my wife is maybe more dangerous with a car than a gun, and that scares the shit out of me because me riding with her, and I'm the one that taught her how to drive. So it's really my fault.
Yeah. You have yourself to blame.
I know. I really do.
Well,
all right. I mean, I feel like we covered it.
I think so.
I kind of want to press now to talk to you about we should treat this like our meeting. What are we going to do next?
Sure. I was thinking I wonder if you'd be interested in reading a story or two by one of Hemingway's real clear kind of...
Not at all.
After...
Yeah.
Well, there's a guy named Robert Stone.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Who, really wonderful writer he died a few years ago, but he was
I was
sort of...
ding that, but like I won't.
The 90s... Anyway, he's seen as one of the kind of writers who carried on the Hemingway tradition of kind of... There's a kind of a manly man thing, but it's often just like there's a lot of traveling.
That's like I feel like that's the surface level of pretty much a lot of the Hemingway stuff, but very, very, very like near the surface and just below.
Here's a read on Robert Stone's, like, Hemingway was the Western man going into the colonies, the imperial colonies, and Robert Stone is the Western man who's stuck there after the empire has fallen, and it's more down and out,
okay,
and more like less heroic, but
okay.
But I don't know. I thought that you might...
Ooh, I would like that.
He has a story collection called Bear and His Daughter that has several good stories. I don't know which one. Yeah, Bear and His Daughter is wonderful.
Yeah, all right. We'll pick something.
And they're adventure kind of things. Like one of them is called Under the Piton. Like the Pythons is how but it's a French thing. I don't know how to pronounce it really.
I do love adventure.
And they're on a sailboat, and they're smuggling a bunch of drugs from... somewhere to somewhere.
Allegedly, Your Honor.
And and they're in the Caribbean, and
It's very Hemingway.
And some kind of like, I don't know,
pirates.
It's just dangerous, and bad things happen.
That's a lot more adventure than what my adventure is I went somewhere different. But
yeah, me too. I mean, I haven't done any drug smuggling in
a while.
Not lately.
Allegedly.
Not lately. I did have... This is in my memoir, but I was in Palenque. You know Palenque? Southern Mexico. Yeah, it's in Chiapas, I think. Yeah, it's Chiapas.
It better be, otherwise you're going to hear about it.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And it's a place where the psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, grow everywhere. And you can buy like this huge bag of them for like $2.
And did you?
I did, because I was just walking down a path in the jungle toward the ruins.
All right.
And some little like Mayan kind of farmer looking guy just jumped out and kind of like waved to me.
And you were like,
and I'm like, okay,
this seems like it could be
and
gravy.
And he had this
Let's
bag,
go.
and I just, it was a
How big of a bag?
It was like a paper lunch bag.
Filled with?
Pretty
mushrooms.
Over like half filled, maybe.
Did you eat most of them?
No, what I did is I took them, and it was only like a few pesos, It wasn't very much money, like $5 maybe at the most. And I ended up holding on to them. And
wait, you were holding, as the kids would say?
I was holding, and I was heading back to Puerto Vallarta, where I was living at the time. I was teaching English as a second. And I was on what I was doing is I had been there in Mexico for 6 months, and I needed to renew my tourist visa.
Yeah.
So I had to get out of the country. So I said, I'm going to go across the border
Guatemala.
And also just do a cool trip through Mexico.
Yeah.
And then I was on my way back, and I had a bunch of friends in Puerto Vallarta, and I knew that they would like to do these mushrooms. So I just kind of hid them in my backpack.
Oh, my God.
Rolled them up. And people said you should put them in honey because that preserves them. But I didn't do that.
I was going to say, is that true?
I think so.
Really?
Well, honey will preserve things.
Like
honey lasts forever. Like it doesn't go bad. Like ever.
Those bees, I tell you.
Yeah, they know. They got it going on. And I'm heading back toward Vallarta, and at one point at a train station outside of like Guadalajara or something like that, I'm just like kind of cruising along, and then this just plainclothes agent in Mexico just like stops me and asks to check my bag. And I like everything inside, every kind of like cell inside my body started screaming in panic. And I just put all of my energy went to my face to not seem like I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem." He asked me what I was doing. He spoke English pretty well. He's like going through my bag and looking at all this stuff. And these mushrooms are, I wasn't even thinking, I'm like, okay, taking drugs across borders, that seems like that's something you'd get in trouble with.
Taking drugs within Mexico
That
should be fine.
seemed okay.
Yeah. And
Turned
what's the
out
problem?
It might not have been okay.
Might not have been all right.
Yeah, and he's looking through stuff, and it was like, all it was like put it in a sock and put it somewhere.
Wow.
Like it wasn't.
I will point out that you are here to tell the tale.
And the
so
guy is like going through my stuff, and he's asking me what I did, and I'm just like,
he's looking for
whatever,
a massive amount of drugs, I think.
maybe, but also whatever like acting skills I've ever had or chill abilities. I'm just like.
Chillbilities, can we?
Chillbilities, yeah.
Hillbilities too, but
no, I like
anyway.
it. Chillbilities.
Chillbilities.
So I'm just like focusing on being cool and not looking skittish and not making too much eye contact, but not shying away from eye contact.
Oh my God, this
and
is
he
too complicated.
And he looks right at me, and he asked. Well, he was asking me what I was doing. I'm like, I've been just kind of traveling around, and I've been sort of hanging out in Puerto Vallarta. I really like it there. And he's like going through my bag, and then he just looks right at me and goes, "I trust you."
Oh.
I almost laughed. I'm like, "Hey, I appreciate that." And he, he's put my stuff back in, and I think he even zipped the bag up for me, and he goes, "Hey." And
he's like, "Hey, I packed it a little better than you did. You're welcome."
He goes, "Have a good day." And then I finally got to Vallarta, and of course the mushrooms by this time were just this slimy, like snot, like kind of consistent.
Did you?
Yeah, me and my girlfriend at the time, and this Australian guy named Mark, good old Mark. I don't remember his last name, but that guy was an adventurer. He was a sailor.
Aussies are. In general.
He hopped on a sailboat in Australia and sailed all the way and he became like a professional sailor, and that was how he made his money, or just got free passage and a couple bucks. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And he
hi.
But we ate them, and then that night on the beach there was
pretty good?
not heavy, not really.
Did you barf?
Hardcore, but
because they were slimy.
No, it was gross. But then we got them down, and we did have kind of an experience. But the diatoms, if you know what those are, were out that day. So diatoms are these little plankton things that glow in the dark.
Oh, shit.
So the waves were glowing green.
And moving.
As they were crashing.
So it's like pulsating.
Yeah. And it was like, wait, are we hallucinating this? And it was like, no, this is how it looks.
That's cool.
It just looks cooler now than it normally.
All right.
Wait, I'm going to end with one more little sailor thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I should save it for Robert Stone.
We should save it for Robert Stone. And that is what they call in the business, ladies and germs, foreshadowing.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody, give us a rating on, how about Apple Podcasts?
8 stars, please.
All our ratings are on Spotify, so we need to get some on Apple, iTunes.
Yeah.
They're called iTunes, right?
I think it's Apple Podcasts.
Oh, okay. That.
Yeah. I think I have a podcast app.
Yeah, let's do that. So, anybody, thanks a lot. I got
good times had by most.
Yeah. And catch you all
Read
later.
these, for sure.
Yeah.
I loved them.
Great stories.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Good stuff, old boy.